Hi, I'm Melanie Hammericksen. I'm an instructor at Oregon Culinary Institute in both the baking and culinary programs. Today I'm going to show you how to make creme brulee. This is my lovely assistant Emma. She's here for Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, and she will be assisting us. Are you excited about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard creme brulee is your favorite dessert.
It is.
It is. It's pretty easy to make. So what I'm going to have you do, Emma, is mix the sugar with the egg yolks. You can use this spatula. While Emma's doing that, I'm going to start heating my cream. The cream needs to come to 200 degrees or scalding temperature, which means little tiny bubbles around the outside. And then we're going to do what we call tempering. We're going to temper the cream in with the egg yolks to bring them up to the same temperature so it doesn't cook the egg. Creme brulee is a very smooth, or ideally a very smooth custard, and if you have cooked egg yolks, it will take away from that smooth mouthfeel. So we're going to try to do our best not to curdle those eggs. So we'll get it mixed together till it's a smooth consistency and you can't see either the egg yolks or the sugar in this, which Emma's doing a great job. Try not to incorporate too much air, because if you get air pockets, then the top will be kind of a curdled looking mess. So all we're going to do now is take some of this warm cream, and this is the tempering procedure. We're going to pour a little bit of this warm cream into the egg yolk, mix it pretty quickly so it doesn't cook that, bring that up to a warm temperature, and then add it back into the pot. Another thing that we're doing in this is cooking the sugar so that it disperses evenly among the creme brulee. So that's pretty good. And you can feel, Emma, that it's kind of warm now, and so it's not cold anymore, so it won't cook that egg yolk. So now we're just going to get all that goodness into the pot and stir it up. You want to stir that up for me?
Yeah.
So now is the time we're going to add the flavoring. Today it's just going to be a vanilla creme brulee. You can add many things, many different flavorings to creme brulees. You can steep teas into the cream while it's warming up on the stove. You can do herbs, you can do spices. Right now, if you wanted to make it a chocolate creme brulee, you could add about 4 ounces of chocolate to this custard and strain it through. If you're going to do chocolate, you just want to make sure that the custard is not too hot, otherwise it'll seize the chocolate. That's good. So now we're going to take an extra precautionary measure and pour it through a strainer. And I'm going to have Emma help it through that strainer if it needs it. You can see in the pan there is a little bit of curdled egg yolk, which is fine, just as long as there's not a lot. It won't screw up the procedure. So I have these creme brulee ramekins set up in this hotel pan. You could use a sheet pan if you just don't have one of these, or a bigger pan at home, or a 13x9 cake pan would be just fine. You just want to make sure that the water comes up to about halfway to 2/3 of the way up on the ramekin so that the custard cooks evenly and doesn't get too hot. All right, looks good. Ideally, you would like this to sit, in an ideal situation, you would like this custard to sit overnight. You can see that there's some bubbles on top of that custard that we need. If you were going to do it the day of, you would need to cool this custard down, and if there are still bubbles on top, we'll burn them off with that. But if it sits overnight, then those bubbles will dissipate and it won't be an issue. So now we're going to pour this into the ramekins, trying not to get it on the sides. If you get it on the sides, just take a paper towel and mop it up. Fill it all the way up to that little notch, all the way up to the top, trying not to go over onto the little lip. There's many different kinds of creme brulee ramekins that you can use. This is the one most commonly seen though. So in this situation, because I do have some air bubbles on the top surface that'll cook funny, Those won't go away. They'll just cook on top, and then you'll have a weird filmy custard on top. So I'm going to take this blowtorch and just lightly, if it works, lightly torch the top just to get those air bubbles out. Pop them all. So it's a nice smooth custard, and that'll help the end product. So now I'm going to take this over to my oven, and on the recipe it tells you that's 350 degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes is just a guideline. You're going to test it to see, or I'll show you how to test it to see when it's done. So now I've brought it to the oven, and I'm going to fill it with water from there. If you were to fill it with water on a tabletop, it's a lot more likely to get water into the custard. Once there's water in the custard, then it'll screw up the formula and it won't set up correctly. So I have the water just below that little lip in the top. I'm going to put it back in, kind of set it to the back, and see what happens. Through the magic of television, I have a few that are done. So when you're checking after 20 minutes or so, check the creme brulee. It's the easiest way I've found to check it is just take a metal spatula or a knife or something and tap the outside like this. If you don't see much movement, then it's done. 15 to 20 minutes and it should be pretty good to go. Use hot water when filling up your water bath, and that'll help a lot expedite the process. And the water bath's just to keep it at an even temperature so it doesn't overcook. Some people will cover the tops of the creme brulee with aluminum foil, and so that way you don't get a browning on the top of your custard. All right, you want to burn off some creme brulees? Yeah. All right. So you're just going to take a little bit of granulated sugar. You can use a few different kinds of sugar. Today we're going to use just granulated sugar. You want to make sure you get, if there is any little droplets, just take a towel and try to get those off. They'll burn quickly. So just enough sugar to cover the top and then a little excess. All right, so I'm going to get my torch on. You can do it two different ways. I'm going to show you two different ways. I feel comfortable doing it in my hand, but there's nothing worse than a sugar burn. So if you don't feel comfortable with that, then we can do it on the table. I'll show you this way first, and then we'll go to the tabletop. So I'm just going to take the torch, start up in the corner. The corners are the hardest. Once it gets caramelized, they'll start to burn. So go with the edges, the outer edges first, and then focus on the center. So get a little bit of color on there and move it. Once it starts to caramelize, you're just moving it. So there's a little excess color on there, and you can see the sugar will start to bubble up, and that's what's going to give you that nice crust that people enjoy so much on these creme brulees. They sell these little torches. You can buy a smaller version of this at Sur La Table. This guy came from Ace Hardware. So that's a little excess, but we'll break through that in a moment, kind of see what we did. So the same thing, sugar to cover the top and just a little bit excess. I find it's a little harder to do it on the tabletop just because you don't get that turning motion, but we'll see how this goes. Just do it in a circular motion. Try to get that center. If it starts doing this, then pull up on your torch. You just don't want that over caramelized look to it. It takes a little bit of practice to get good at this, but I keep the torch higher so there's not hot spots. These little hot spots aren't ideal, but they'll taste just fine. Let them sit for a minute or so just till this crust starts to harden. And all of these are ready. You want to try one of these, Emma?
Yeah.
Are there any spoons? All right, hold on, I gotta grab some spoons. All right, Emma, which one do you want to eat? That one? All right, there you go. Tell me what you think.
It's really good.
You love it? That's pretty easy, right?
It's really easy. That was really good.
All right, thanks for coming in today and helping me.
Thanks for having me.
We usually have creme brulee on our dinner menu. If you're interested, check out our website, view our menu, OregonCulinaryInstitute.com. We'll see you in the restaurant soon. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.